So today I am on another quest, but this quest I'm going to be telling you that each champion in this video will lose to this specific contender if they fight them, because it is the worst possible matchup for them. Stylistically, most of these champions would take an L because these contenders just have the worst style, whether it's their takedown defense, their grappling, maybe even their boxing, their striking technique, their kicking game, whatever it is. These contenders possess what is needed to beat their champion in their division. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. Starting off with bantamweight, I am more confident in this contender beating Aljamain Sterling because they possess everything that is needed to beat Aljo, and that is no other than Song Yadong. He has what it takes to beat Aljo, and honestly, if they were to fight right now, if they were fighting this weekend, I would more than likely pick Song Yadong to beat Aljo. He has basically everything you need to pretty much put down and demolish and neutralize the game that is Aljamain Sterling's. So Song Yadong would not fear the grappling, the jiu-jitsu game of Aljo. He would put down Aljo. He would use his left hook same way he did Ricky Simone and rock Aljo, might even KO him. He has elite technique, he is very powerful, he is young, and he is fast. And Aljo would massively, and I mean massively, struggle to get him down because Song Yadong's takedown defense is no joke. He has some of the best takedown defense. Matter of fact, he has the best takedown defense at the bantamweight division. I'm confident in saying that. I think he has a really solid chance of being able to claim the title over Aljo if he happened to fight them. Now, I know he lost to Corey Sandhagen, but that was an extremely competitive fight, and as we know, styles make matchups, styles make fights, and this would be the worst style for Aljo to fight, and that's Song Yadong's style. Now, obviously, it's MMA. Nothing is guaranteed at all, so Aljo does have a chance of beating my man Song Yadong, and that's by using the clinch and using his superior size to take him down. That's how he took down Cejudo in their matchup, was being able to get Cejudo up against the cage, get him in a clinch, be the bigger man, and use outside trips, inside trips to take down Cejudo and take the back. And again, Song Yadong isn't the biggest bantamweight. He's not a small bantamweight by any means, but he's not Aljamain Sterling size. So Aljo may be able to muscle him down the same way he did Petr Yan, the same way he did Cejudo, because he can still get in that body triangle even though a guy might be smaller, like how he did with Petr Yan. But then again, I think that Song Yadong's takedown defense would completely neutralize that, and he would be the worst matchup, again, the worst matchup for Aljo in the entire division. And let's not forget, again, like I mentioned before, Song Yadong is very young. He has time to improve. And I think as time goes on, it gets worse for Aljo because he's not a young bantamweight by any means. I believe he's in his mid-30s so far, or really kind of on that cusp between being early to mid-30s. He's somewhere on the wrong side of 30. I'll leave it at that. And Song Yadong is 25 years old, getting better. He's been in the UFC for quite a while now. I would trust him. I would if he actually got the matchup, but I would trust him to be able to beat Aljamain Sterling if they fought. He's one of the few guys who I think would beat him because Aljo really is a freak. He doesn't have many people in the division that he would match up bad against, and I think Song Yadong is that one man to match up well against him. Moving on, up next, we have Hamza Chimaev versus Israel Adesanya. This one comes as no surprise. With Israel Adesanya being mainly a kickboxer, Chimaev naturally matches up well against him. One thing that all of Adesanya's opponents have tried to do to him was take him down, besides Alex Pereira, because he was, also a kickboxer, so that makes sense. But one thing outside of Pereira that all of Izzy's opponents have tried to do to him was take him down and grapple. And Hamza Chimaev obviously is that man who could ragdoll Adesanya. Now, I'm a little bit less confident in this one, as I don't think that Hamza truly possesses everything to beat Adesanya. I think he has more cons than what Song Yadong has. And obviously, we don't know how good his cardio is. We saw in the Gilbert Burns matchup, his cardio might be wishy-washy, especially in a 5-rounder that would be against Adesanya. So if Izzy could survive long enough, he might be able to just TKO or really outlast Hamza Chimaev. And I think obviously everybody knows this. Chimaev is not a good kickboxer. He does have power on the feet, which is good because Izzy might be, I wouldn't call him chinny, but his chin isn't super elite, the best chin you've ever seen. And Hamza Chimaev, we know, has that serious power, especially at middleweight. He put down Gerald Meerschaert like he was nothing. He has insane power. He drops everybody who he seems to fight. If not drop them, he just completely embarrasses them with the grappling. So Chimaev could very well make a mockery of Israel Adesanya, ruin all of his fans. People will be so angry if that happened. But there's still some questions we have about Hamza Chimaev, and the biggest question we have is, will he even go up to middleweight? Right now, I think he's still talking about staying down at welterweight, so this matchup could never even happen. But I wanted to put this here because I'm really unsure where Hamza's going to be, and I think eventually he will fight Izzy. I'm pretty confident on that one. I think sometime down the future, we will see Hamzat fight in the middleweight division and work his way through to fight Israel Adesanya. I think he's good enough. I'm pretty confident he will get a title shot at some point at middleweight. Don't know when, but some point he will. If he can just fight, that'd be awesome. But we don't know what's going to happen. He might fight Kamaru Usman at welterweight. So you really can't figure out what Hamzat is going to do in the near future. But I think if he did fight Israel Adesanya, this would be one of his worst matchups, stylistically speaking. Now, moving on, this one might come out of left field for some people, but I do have Ilia Topuria versus Alexander Volkanovski. I think that this one is kind of the worst matchup outside of Yair Rodriguez. I think technically Yair would be the worst matchup for Volk, but I wanted to be a little bit different in this one and give some respect to my man Ilia Topuria. And let's be honest here about this. Volk's chin isn't the best. He's getting older and it's gonna crack sooner or later. And by the time Ilia Topuria gets his title shot against him, Volk's probably gonna be like, what, 37? He's gonna be an older fighter, and I'm worried about how he can handle the power of Ilia Topuria. I don't think Volk will be able to implement his grappling game against him because Topuria has one of the most underrated grappling in the UFC. People know him for his striking, his body shots, his really, elite power, but no one really ever talks about his grappling game. He's a very underrated grappling. In his early pro career, he has a few guillotine chokes. I think he has a Darce choke in there as well. He just arm triangled Bryce Mitchell. So he has really good jiu-jitsu and grappling. So I think Volk will not be able to implement that part of his game if things are not going well on the feet. And if things aren't going well on the feet for Volk, he might get put out against Ilia. He has that kind of power. Now, the only thing I kind of have to knock for Ilia is that we don't know much about him yet. We don't know how good his striking truly is, because at featherweight, the true test of your skill is fighting a Max Holloway. You can't really figure out how good somebody is at featherweight until they fight that Max Holloway guy. And obviously, Ilia Topuria has not made it to that point yet. But I think he would be very successful, or he would show that he is an elite fighter at featherweight if he did fight Holloway. Would he win? I don't know. It's a different matchup entirely. He might even lose to Holloway, but I think in terms of styles, I think he matches up better against Volk than he does Holloway. And I think he has the best chance of beating him. But there's just too many unknowns. There's too many factors that we don't know about involving Topuria to where I can for sure be 100% confident that he could beat Volk. But I think in terms of styles, again, he would match up the absolute best against him, not named Yair Rodriguez. Now, last but not least, we have my man, one of my top 5 fighters, Jack Della Maddalena, JDM, versus Leon Edwards. Now, you could definitely put Hamza Chimaev here because he is a welterweight, so to speak, but I think that the Israel Adesanya matchup is way better in terms of value, excitement, marketing, all of that together. So I'm putting him versus Adesanya because I want to, and I'm having JDM, the underrated guy, one of my, again, favorite fighters, up against Leon Edwards, and I think he would pose a lot of problems for the champ Leon. When you watch JDM fight, you just see how good he is on the feet. You see how technical he is on the feet. And I think it's kind of a hot take right now. It might be. And I think purely, just talking purely striking, purely boxing, I think JDM has better boxing than Leon Edwards. Now that might be a stretch. It might be a hot take, but I think that this man is so underrated. When you watch JDM, you just kind of get that feeling that this guy really knows what he's doing, and he has different kind of power. I forgot to put power into one of his pros, but he has just different kind of power. He puts down people like they're not anything, like they're not shit. And that's really special at welterweight. When you watch somebody have great technique with power on top of that, they can be a real, and I mean a real danger. And you can tell his IQ is also very, very good. He knows how to escape positions that are bad for him. Like in the Ramazan Amir fight, he was in like a Darce choke or an Anaconda choke, and he got right out of that. He defended it very, very well. He has a really high fight IQ, striking technique. He makes good reads and finds the shots where he needs to find them. But there are some things that we don't know about him, some questions that we have that are unanswered right now, and we don't know about his takedown defense. Now, Leon Edwards isn't the most grappling heavy guy, but he will take you down. If that is a hole in your game, Leon Edwards will be for sure to expose that. But I'm going off the notion that JDM's takedown defense is elite. I'm pretty confident. I think just by the way he fights that his takedown defense will be solid enough to where he can get past Sean Brady and eventually make his way down the line to a title shot. I think he beats a lot of people in the top 5, honestly. I think he beats Belal Muhammad just right now, but we don't know about his takedown defense. Obviously, that's a huge question in his game that we don't know yet, so I can't put too much stock into that yet. And also, one thing we don't know about JDM is how good is his kicking game. Obviously, we know that his boxing is really crisp. His hands are super crisp. But Leon Edwards is one of those guys where he can sit at range and pick at you with leg kicks, just like how he did Kamaru Usman. So that could be a negative thing for JDM. However, JDM dealt with Randy Brown fairly easily, and Randy Brown was one of those guys who's longer, who's rangier, who has that reach on him and can really play at range, and he put him down and dismantled him like he was nothing as well. So I think that won't be too much of an issue for JDM in his career. I think that style actually matches up better for him. That's why I have him in this list against Leon Edwards, because Leon Edwards will not be able to play that super far range game like he did Kamaru Usman, because he will get probably put down by JDM. But who knows? There's still a lot of unknowns in the game of JDM. I'm kind of basing this off of a prediction, so I don't quite know just yet, but I'm really confident in JDM's career. He's, again, another time, one of my more favorite fighters to watch right now. He has a ton, and I mean a ton of potential in the welterweight division, and I'm definitely excited to see where he goes in the future. Now, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. I do enjoy reading those. If you have some other fighters who you think pose an even bigger threat to their current champion, also link that down in the comments. I'll definitely take those into consideration. But again, that's all I have for you today. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video as well. Peace.